All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us here today for Lifewater Canada's Town Hall meeting in June 2026. We have a wonderful guest with us here today. This is Lawrence from Liberia. He is the current treasurer of Lifewater Liberia Inc. And has been involved with Lifewater Liberia and Lifewater Canada for several years in various roles. So he has a wealth of knowledge of just the history of Lifewater Canada and our relationship in Liberia, as well as some great insights into the future that we are moving into. So it will be great to hear from him. We also have Vice President Dan, who will be doing the interview here with Lawrence, and then our President Linda, who has joined us on her travels in the West Coast, out in the campground in Vancouver Island. So we are crossing our fingers that her internet will remain as it is right now. So we'll just hope for the best there. Um, so yeah, with that, I will turn it over to Dan and we will begin our presentation.
Beautiful. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. And thanks, Lawrence, so much for joining us here tonight. Lawrence is somebody who has become what I would call a good friend of mine over the last number of years. He's been a joy to work with and always a guy that I can go to with a need or a problem or anything else. And Lawrence always steps up with a solution for us. So, Lawrence, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I guess just to start, a little bit of a smaller group here tonight, but that's good. And I know a lot of people here are kind of already longtime friends and supporters of the work that Lifewater Canada does with our partners around the world. So you're probably already somewhat familiar with Lifewater Liberia Inc. But I did just want to cover a little bit of the history of Lifewater Liberia. And I think for that, I'd like to have Linda and Lawrence both talk about that a little bit. We didn't have Linda with us last night, but it'll be good to have her perspective and sharing some of her stories on the history of L-Link. So, Lawrence, why don't you go ahead, jump in, and just tell us a little bit about where Lifewater Liberia has come from.
Great. So once again, thanks for having me on this night for the town hall. So Lifewater Liberia, as far as our history is concerned, started as far back as 1995 when Brother Jim, someone we often call our gentle giant, peace be to his ashes, came to Liberia along with his friend, Brother Glenn Strongs. They came to assess situation in Liberia, a post-war country at the time with a dire need. And then they worked with a few local men, did a well, trained them on how to do repairs. And then they had gone back to Canada. But what happened basically was that well and the repair that they instituted with those guys basically planted their hearts back here in Africa, specifically Liberia. And so Brother Jim had to come back, and then that saw the formation of Lifewater Liberia and also Lifewater Canada by extension. And so ever since that great deal that was done by Brother Jim and Brother Glenn, being a hope provider for the needed women, children, and those that were in dire need of water, have continued to till now. And so that's pretty much where Lifewater Liberia started, and also Lifewater Canada. Perhaps Mrs. Lena will jump in and provide her perspective on that as well. Yeah.
So you're right, Lawrence. The meeting with Brother Wallow at that time was the program coordinator, and the experience of seeing eye to eye what life was like in the middle of the war, really, and to watch the women and children drawing water out of mud holes and creeks that we wouldn't even let our children play in was an absolute searing in Jim's heart of the need and a real commitment as to what he could do about it. I'm sorry, the sun is right smack in the camera now. He realized after that first trip that it wasn't drill 2 wells and train a few guys and that was a done deal. He learned, and Glenn at that time learned that in order for longevity, in order for any kind of sustainability, there needed to be some further development. And so that's really what started the 3-phase approach, train and equip local people to do the work within their communities and involve the communities, and then move into trying to we just got a rig and flight, and what are we going to do to try and pay for all of that? And the guys need to have some support, because at that time to earn $1 a day was a big deal, and they didn't have the luxury or the privilege of volunteering like we do. So that really cemented that there was more work to be done and started the 2-year road of getting Lifewater Canada established and registered as a charity in Canada. But it was that first trip into Liberia and really coming face to face with the acute need that really just cemented and firmed in his conviction that this is what God wanted him to do at that time.
So then that 3-phase approach, that's really, what we've brought into every country that we work in now, every team that we work with now, the training and equipping of local teams leading the work in the communities. And then on the Canadian side, donors making it actually possible for that work to continue. So that's a lesson learned all the way 31 years ago, working with Lifewater Liberia. I kind of like to think of it that Lifewater Canada exists because Jim and Glenn started Lifewater Liberia all the way back then. So we've been hand-in-hand partners in this thing right from the very beginning. And Lawrence has been involved for 15 plus years, I think, now at this point in time, right? Somewhere in there.
Yep. Started as a PC, a program coordinator, and then it was pretty rocky when you started and got it stabilized and found a replacement, and then you moved into being a board member and then treasurer. So
do you remember the year you started, Lawrence?
That was 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that brings us to the point that in Liberia, to date, the partnership between Lifewater Canada and Lifewater Liberia has seen over 14,200 projects completed now to date in Liberia, which is a pretty phenomenal number. Most of those projects in the last, few years. I think most of those projects just even in the last 3 years. But still a pretty phenomenal number that I don't think anyone really dreamed of when the whole vision began. So we've definitely grown beyond what I guess I guess I could say what we thought was possible at the time. Looking forward to more and more. But Lawrence, you've been around now with Lifewater Liberia and the partnership with Lifewater Canada for so long. You've got a couple of stories of some memorable moments and impactful times. Maybe you want to share a couple of those with us?
Sure. So everywhere Lifewater Liberia has gone to work, the stories are just always amazing. But there is this one that sticks with me even today. So where we are currently in Fendel, there's this little deserted locality, mostly because of the terrible road condition. But as God could have it, we
Fendel, just for just for the sake of everyone else, Fendel is I guess the village is just kind of on the northeast of Monrovia, outside of the main city a little ways, but that would be Fendel. And when we talk about the Fendel compound, it's just because it's located in that village there. Sorry,
Yeah,
Lawrence.
that's correct. Yeah, sure. So and that's just a few kilometers from where we are. So we have made it one early evening into this locality, and I mean, just at the sight of the life water vehicles driving in this town this early evening, you could see jubilant women and children, and you will understand why, because in our own environment, our own setting, household chores such as gathering water for the family rest squarely with the mothers and the kids. And so they are the ones that are mostly going through the stress of sharing school time for the kids, sharing hours that they should be busy taking care of other stuff, going far distances to fetch water. And so they were all very jubilant, to the extent there were even some other women that were throwing their clocks in the way for the team to even pass on. And as I stood there as the project coordinator and wanting to see that we actually have made it to this town, that was quite amazing. But more beyond that, what I could see on the faces of those women and children was hope being restored. All right. After all these long years, no access to water, finally, here comes the hope. And that's the joy that actually sticks with me. And that was actually quite amazing. And as we finally got in, the team was well received. The projects were completed. We shared the gospel with the team, and that community is even still grateful today. And that's such an amazing story for years that I still keep with me till now. Yeah, it was such a great experience. Yeah.
I love that story of hope, and I know Linda shares the sentiment. But I often talk about with the teams in all of the nations that we're not just bringing water to communities, but sometimes the more important thing that we bring is hope, and having that capacity to engage and energize a community like that is an amazing thing. I've been on a drill rig in that situation, Lawrence, and it's almost indescribable. To see the community's reaction, the people's reaction when you're slowly making your way down a road that no one else can drive down, and you're slowly making your way down that road, and you're going to get to that village, and you just see people just start to awake, and see that awakening hope. It's a incredibly powerful thing. But it hasn't all been good times either, right? We've had some difficulties in Liberia through the years. So why don't you tell us one of those stories?
So difficulties, especially so during my time as the project coordinator for Lifewater, was what I called more of a management issue. So as project coordinator, there were issues with getting the teams back in the field to provide that hope, as we've mentioned, not solely because equipments were down or the vehicles were down, but because there was difficulty in getting access to funds. So as it is, the project coordinator runs the day-to-day affairs of the entity in consultation with the treasurer So we had a lot of bottlenecks with the approval, and that really became a challenge in serving our communities. Um, we also had the challenge with equipments, and that became so pervasive over the time, and that hindered our own time to work. So where we stand now, fast forward 2023 to now, with the level of shift where we now have the project coordinator being fully empowered and supported to have the teams in the field, to have timely project fund release. And that kind of brings me that greater satisfaction that we are able to more efficiently serve the communities. And so that's something that has really impressed upon my heart of late. And so when I look at the period 2013, 2014, back then, with all of those challenges and getting things done timely, and where we're at now, and how we are able to meet our monthly targets well in time, and that just speaks how much we are delivering more hopes to more and more people. And I think it brings me such a great joy. Yeah.
So just to put that in a little bit of perspective, in 2019, in Liberia, the team there in Liberia was able to complete 67 wells in 2019. By the time 2023, so the year that Lawrence is talking about, came around, I'm just going to pull up that number here. They were down to 21 wells that year. And a lot of that, as you said, had to do with maintenance schedules, and the bottleneck of the board in allowing the team to actually be out in the field working. So fast forward to today, across Liberia in our last fiscal year, and I guess I'll preface this by saying, in the last few years, we've gone from kind of that one, struggling team to 4 really active, really vibrant, incredibly productive teams. And in our last fiscal year in Liberia, you guys across the nation were able to do 4,126 total projects. And as far as new wells, what are we at? 18 a month. I think we're doing 18 wells a month right now.
18 a month. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. In contrast with 21 wells in the entire year of 2023. It really does beg the question, Lawrence. How did you get from there to here? What made the changes?
So the gap between has been filled. First, I would say it has to be the express word of God for the people of Liberia. Because I remember in 2022, that was October 8th, when we had our first ever meeting. And that must have been your very first time to Liberia.
And I just have to say, it feels like a lot longer than that. It doesn't feel like 2023.
It's actually 2022, October 8th. Yeah. So we had a meeting, and out of that meeting, and you were being very blunt. And the issue with Lifewater Liberia was being identified as entirely a board issue, that the board probably was serving as the blockade to the free flow of water to the Liberian populace. And it had to take us to make the hardest decision. So we accepted the fight. We sat down, and the chairman then he began the renewal process. So he opted to have step aside by the end of the year, by 31st December, So we had dissolved a board of 7, and then reconstituted a board initially of 3, and then brought on 2 new members. And when we got on the new team, when we started, what we did, we tried to set our priorities right. We came up with practical ways to achieve those goals, and we kind of share them with Lifewater Canada such that they are aligned with Lifewater Canada. And one message out of that meeting was the era of this father-son relationship has got to stop, and it's hard time that we see ourselves as equal partners working towards the same goal, such that we are fully aligned. And I tell you what, we actually grabbed that vision and we begin to make the adjustments. That period saw great uncertainty for even the teams. So what we did when we took over as a new board, we reassured them. We had a formal meeting with all of the staff, reassure them, and then also make them to understand their own role that they have to play in achieving whatever strategic objective that we had set. And so mostly I would say it had to be the hard decision I was taking, because even some of those that exited the board at the time were even, or I would say are even incorporators of Lifewater Liberia. And so that was how hard we had to take that decision. It has to be deliberate. And once we did it and tried to make the right things, put things in place, the issue about regular maintenance schedule, the issue of restoring the project coordinator, ensuring that funds are timely released, and making sure that we are able to go out and achieve whatever monthly targets that's been assigned us. We think that has been a great value added from that time. And I would say the decision we took at the time really pay off. Yeah.
Wow. So during that era, that also saw the creation of one of the 4 teams, kind of separating some of the teams inside of L Link and outside of L Link. So the separation of a team that would focus on pump repairs, the team that would be focused on well drilling, the team that would be focusing in rehab, um, and really the ability to give the everyday boots on the ground people a lot of focus for the work that they were doing as well, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I remember you coming to me with that initially with the maintenance schedule, and saying this is the state of all of our equipment right now, but we have a plan, and here's our plan, and this is how long it's going to take us to, to fund something new or to repair something old back into a place where it's usable again. You guys came up with such incredible plans, and I think you um, exactly stated it there when you said that you had a board come back in with some vision, rather than, I guess, just having some people with the prestige of sitting on the board. You had a smaller group of people with a true and clear vision for your nation, um, that was not dictated by Lifewater Canada, but you came to us with that vision, and then we were able to come alongside you and say, "Now this is how we can support that. These are the things that align with
Absolutely.
our mandates, that align with who we are, and this is how we can support." Linda, you kind of look like you want to say something on that.
No, I actually just dropped my mouse.
Oh,
So
okay then. Um, yeah, and what a tremendous change. I mean, going from a historic low of number of projects to across the nation of Liberia, seeing well over 4,000 projects a year being done is incredible. For us here at Lifewater Canada on this side of the ocean, on this side of the camera. To me, that really, I guess, bolsters or proves the importance of Lifewater Canada's priorities of local empowerment. So you talked about the era of the father and the son, and in that you're talking about that era where the vision came from Canada and the plan came from Canada and the instruction came from Canada, to the era of equal partners where you guys have the freedom and the ability to set your plans and set your priorities, and then we have the ability to come alongside that in a supporting and complementary way. So I think that really does, in a lot of ways, for me anyway, points back to that priority of local empowerment. But then that leads me into a couple of questions. The first one being, what are some of the most empowering changes that have been made in Lifewater Liberia, or in our funded work in Liberia? And I don't think it was 2023. I think it was 2022. Must have been 2022. So from in the last 4 years, some of those, the most empowering changes that have been made.
Oh, so I would say there has been significant changes in this period. So you had Lifewater Liberia leaving from one struggling team, and now we have 4 active teams. Not just that, but now have the ability to reach all of our nations. Between that period now, we have 4 very efficient teams. All right, and by the way, Liberia has 15 counties, and with those 4 teams and how we now have them, we have the ability to reach out. So in just last year, we received a brand new LS200, and also a brand new Toyota pickup truck out of Gibraltar. And that pickup truck was customized locally. By the way, we got the sketch from Brother Dan in one of our meetings, and so our local team customized that pickup truck such that it has the ability to carry the LS200 drill rig. It also carries there are compartments that carries all of the equipments that are needed to work with this equipment with this drill rig. Now,
I'm just going to interrupt you just for a moment there, Lawrence.
Yeah,
so
there you have it.
This particular truck, the deal was made by the board of Lifewater Liberia. Lifewater Liberia saved money, set aside money to be at the point where they could afford to do this. This was not provided by Canada. This was a Lifewater Liberia initiative from beginning to end that, yes, we helped with, but again, that's in the sense of coming alongside to see how can we help you reach your vision. And I've got to say, I've rarely been more proud than when you guys unloaded this truck off the container and completed this modification. So I'll let you go ahead and finish.
Yeah, so that's the amazing thing. So the one advantage of this pickup truck and the equipment is that most of Liberia, we have an equal distribution of rain and sunny time. So we have 2 weather, rainy season and dry season, equal distribution across the year. During the rainy season, there's huge challenge with road condition. So most of those communities are hard to reach areas because heavy trucks wouldn't be able to go through because of the road condition. But with this just little magnificent guy that takes our drill rig, all of the equipment, takes the team, we are able to reach community and bring hope even in rainy season. So that's quite amazing where we are right now with that. And not only that, we also had the rural team that was first set up, and that was in March of last year. And this rural team was able to accomplish something that even myself, when we had a conversation, we nobody actually thought was possible. Now this one was nobody thought this was possible. So a vision was being shared that it is possible to reach your farthest northern part of your country. That's in Lofa or Low Town. It is right in the middle of the jungle, right in the middle. That's Vanema. So this team was set up in March. Brother Dan himself had come. We got the four-wheeler Azuzu. We bought locally the D-Max pickup truck. He mounted this equipment, but sadly, because of his the delay in the arrival of the truck, he couldn't be there to do that work. But this team, the LS300 team, they were able to make it up to that farthest reach part. And Vanema is a story today that is just quite amazing and speaks to how much we can achieve once we are deliberate about it. Yeah. So that's quite amazing. Yeah, those are pictures out of Vanema,
And this
right in
just
the
came
middle of the
out.
jungle.
Yeah, it came about just from a conversation that I was having with the L Link board on, you know, what could we achieve together if we removed all of the limits, right? What would it look like if we could reach every village and every person in Liberia? What could we accomplish? So we set this together kind of as that, symbolic well, that if we can reach this place, we could reach any place. So that's where one of those LS300 drill rigs that is set up for mud rotary and air rotary drilling, totally self-contained off-road vehicle. That's where that one came into Liberia. Uh, I had such a amazing experience putting that machine together there with the people that today operate that machine. And I think that's again comes back to one of those empowerment things. We didn't build a machine and then just give it to Lifewater Liberia, but we came together and we joined together, and it was really powerful to hear from some of those guys saying we can't build this. Oh yeah, you can. I mean, come on, let's put it together. We can do this. We can do this together. And we built that truck together. It's been out in the field now for over 12 months. I think it's done. Has to be just over 50 wells now, I think, right? In the extreme reaches of rural Liberia, as you see there. It's the Vanema is the furthest north community in all of Liberia, and we were able to get in there. But again, it's something that we did together as partners, which I just love. Sorry, Lawrence, go ahead.
Yeah. So and it's quite amazing how we continue to make progress. And in February, just February of this year, we were able to launch the Riverside team. They are working in the eastern side of Liberia, and that will also give access to the southeast. So the team, the very team that operates the 200, is currently overseeing projects in those areas. It's been amazing. The folks there are overly grateful, and Riverside is a beautiful city, and the work there is proven to actually deliver hope to folks. So, as we
With
said,
incidentally
between
one more drill rig on the way to work specifically in Riverside.
yeah, yeah, we have that guy. So he's already on his way, right? Yeah,
It's on the ocean in a container. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can be more grateful to to God for what He's been doing through us over just this short period, and it's just quite amazing. And the stories, the testimonies, the hope that we bring to these people, and we are doing it and really doing it big. And I'm glad to be a part of this story. Actually, yeah.
And I just want to point back just for a second. Lawrence brought up maintenance a couple of times in this conversation. Um, and when you look at that Toyota Land Cruiser pickup, when you look at the LS 300 truck mounted rig on the Isuzu truck, those have been in the field now for over a year, both of them.
Yeah.
And when we look at pictures of those machines today, uh, they're in excellent condition. Um, they're not. They're obviously cared for. There's a sense of pride with the team that is really, uh, from my perspective, it's really kind of neat or powerful to watch that sense of pride inside of Lifewater Liberia kind of evolve and grow over those last couple of years.
and
Which,
and and that's quite right.
yeah, no,
That's sorry to hold you. That's quite right, brother James, brother Dan. So I remember we had called Rocky to one of our board meetings when we
mhm,
were trying to set up the Riverses project. And when I walked over to that pickup truck, I shared a similar view with him that this shows ownership, that you guys have actually taken ownership, and you are fully accountable for what has been assigned to you. Rocky tells me, by the way, Rocky is the drill supervisor. He tells me he set his own rule for that vehicle, that there are specific rules for drillers when approaching that vehicle. You don't bring your your rain boots into there. You don't bring a certain clothes. You don't do a certain. And the car was just so neat. I'm like, Rocky, this car is a year, and see what we are able to do now. Because, and you see, the thing is that like I said, brother Dan, some of what we did when we took over, we brought these guys on, and we made them to understand that the work they do is not just entirely about what you receive at the end of the month. All right. But it's about being a part of our own mission as Lifewater Liberia and Lifewater Canada, being the hands and feet of Jesus, bringing water, bringing hope to people. And so as you do your work, see yourself in that space. So the guys have gravitated to that position. And so they'll now take ownership. So passion now drives what they do, and I think that is one thing that paying off. And you are very right. The LS 300 still looks it's in top shape. The the LS the 200 is also in top shape. Very well. The guys are doing well with the maintenance, and we continue to follow the maintenance schedule. Maintenance is not optional. Every time we have to do a requisition for a new month, maintenance has to be a part, especially for those equipment that are there, except for those one that has scheduled maintenance. But for all those smaller mud pumps and all that, after doing 4 wells, 8 wells, man, we have to do a little servicing, looking at your oil, making sure your filters are good, and it's not optional. It's a requirement for them to do. So that's quite amazing. Yeah, that's
and what
true.
an incredible difference. And Linda, I know you want to say something.
Well, Bob's been to Liberia with us, Robert, and he can attest to the state that we would come into country and we would leave from a trip and it would be, spare parts and, reviewing maintenance schedules and everything would be fixed and repaired and the swivels would be all rebored and got so there wasn't leaking when they're drilling. And we come back a year later or 9 months later and it would be toast. It was just, I mean, it was wartime. It was a different mentality, and people had to progress past. If it's not broken, don't touch it, right? So if it's still, crippling along, you just leave it be because we don't have anything spare to be able to put into something that's still working small. But as time moved and the war was over and people started to, be able to live better, I think the attitude and the change in leadership and the freeing up of the idea that maintenance was primary and necessary so that downtime was reduced, all of those things in conjunction ended up with, the team being the way it is. And that's directly in sync with the change of the board and the vision of the board that's been translated and filtered into the teams themselves so that they feel empowered and they feel part of everything. You mentioned, just the infusion of hope. I look at it like, a billow, like an old fashioned, bellows that would go into a fire that would just make the flame, be really vibrant and hot. And that's kind of what this teams are doing now by, going into the nations and not just one town at a time, but absolutely blitzing an area so that they repair all the pumps. They refurbish those boreholes that are good, but the pump's gone. They drill new wells where they're needed. They, do all kinds of workshops so that people are educated along with these projects. And that is just this, not just a step up, but just a whole helping people to rise up out of poverty because of something simple like water. It's really the groundwork of a new stage of life and a progression towards healthier living.
And I really believe actually that Lifewater Liberia is in a lot of ways leading the nation on that hope, on that imagining what we could do. I remember when we were over there putting together that LS 300 rig, and the guys kept saying, "We can't do this. Things don't get built in Liberia. We don't build things here. Things get sent, right?" And we got to the end of building that drill rig there, and right on the back of the drill rig now it says "Built in Liberia," and the guys were just so understanding that yes, we can, right? And I think that that's part of the reason why there is such a sense of pride, is because they are at the forefront in a lot of ways of rebuilding a nation, not just in bringing hope through water and safe and accessible water, but also in how you're accomplishing some of those things, right? You're using local solutions and local people, and doing fantastic work. And I think that's just going to continue on into the future, which I guess brings me to the last question. I don't want to keep you very much longer here, Lawrence, but what are the goals for the future? And I'm going to put this open to Linda as well. We'll have Lawrence go ahead. What are your goals for Lifewater Liberia in the future? And then Linda, we'll have you jump on with that one too.
Yep. So as far as our goals for the futures are, we want to be a more efficient team that's fully equipped to deliver the much needed hope. Remember the story I shared about that community, jubilant women, children, throwing their clothes, hope being lifted high. You don't want a situation where in the middle of the work, you can't get the job done because equipment has gone off, or you just can't do it. And then that shatters the hope. Lifewater Liberia don't want to be in that place. And so we are trying to build more in terms of our capacity. As a matter of fact, like we mentioned, we have that track mounted on his way. We also have in place the arrangement for another LS300 to boost our capacity. And to further support that, I think you are aware, like we share with you. So what we even did as part of the internal reform was to have this local arrangement with private guys who has a bigger capacity where we cannot work. We could hire their service to make sure that we are moving along. And so we are getting to that place where we can settle our equipment and be sure that Lifewater Liberia can be more efficient. We can boost up our service delivery with the goal that we have to cover the entire nation. That comes with a huge demand on equipment. And so we want to close that gap. And that was something that we also share with Lifewater Canada. And that's a vision that gracefully Lifewater Canada bought into. And so we are in sync. And we are just grateful that we are headed the right direction. And the people of Liberia can be served more and more efficiently in having access to clean water, that children don't have to suffer from waterborne diseases. Kids don't have to affect their school hours for walking long distances to get water. Um, Man, that's just where we are right now as Lifewater Liberia, to be more efficient in our service delivery, and we building up our capacity. That's our goal for the future. Yeah.
So, Linda, before you jump in on that, Lawrence, that just reminded me of an email I got from Joe the other day. Everyone, Joe is the PC of the pump repair team over in Liberia, and I got an email from him the other day that said, "We're done repairing pumps in River Cess. There are no more pumps to repair. Every pump in River Cess works." And I got to say, I was completely shocked, right? But there's a huge need still for new wells in River Cess. We still have about, I think, about 140 or so wells that need to be drilled in River Cess. But every existing pump in that county is working and providing water for people. For me, that's become a really big goal, is full service to the communities and to the people in the nations that you guys are working. So yeah, that's why we come alongside on, when you lay out, such well executed and well thought out plans on how do we serve our country. 100%. That's why we come alongside that, because it's the same goal as ours. So, Linda, sorry, go ahead.
Well, let me just say again, Lawrence, that how you've expressed the incredible growth and refurbishment of effectiveness and vision, and taken, a real handle on being able to be diligent in reporting and clear in documentation and financial acuity is just like a breath of fresh air to some of the struggles that we had in early days. For future vision, I think the step towards taking the knowledge of that Dan and Colton were able to share with the team, how to take the rig that was shipped and mount it onto the truck, and all the welding and the fabrication and the various adjustments that needed to be made in order to make that rig viable, and the learning that happened represents itself in the truck and the cab that you put on it to hold all the equipment needed to run the rig. And that task taken on independently without any of our hands from Lifewater Canada on it just is indicative of where I think you are going to be able to go in the future. And, as Lifewater Canada is able to start to explore new nations and working in other areas and with acute water needs, I can easily see being able to call on Lifewater Liberia to go in and help to train their teams in how to drill and how to repair water and how to do maintenance and how to run the organization, repair wells, and how to run the organization and how to budget and how to, make sure that downtime is avoided, and, how to coordinate the various needs and assess them and evaluate them. All of those key skills that you have developed over the 31 years, that's transferable into other places. And I think, with the empowerment that you guys have expressed and shown us, that's a very real opportunity for your team to be able to reach out and help other nations find their way.
Yeah, sure. And that's a call that Lifewater Liberia would be more than willing to answer. Matter of fact, we benefited when we had Rocky go over to Kenya, and when he came back, Rocky had a whole new vision, a whole new way, and how you take the issue of safety gears and all that. So knowledge sharing is always important, and so that's something that Lifewater Liberia is more than willing to answer. So
yeah, it's good.
Lawrence, I don't want to keep you any longer, but I do just want to answer Lisa's question quickly. She's asking how many people usually make up a team. So Lisa, it depends on what type of teams. Drill teams are normally 4 to 5 people. Repair teams can be as little as 1. But generally they travel in teams of 2, with a couple of more that are doing like community assessments and stuff. Spread across all of the teams in Liberia. We actually had a very similar question last night. Spread across all of the teams in Liberia, we have 38 men and women that are working across the 4 teams in Liberia.
that's good.
Not counting like security guards and yard men and stuff, but talking field employees. So, Lawrence, I want to thank you just so much for joining us 2 nights in a row, especially at the late hour, and especially considering the amount of pain that I know you're in right now. So we won't keep you any longer. Scott, I will have you come back, and I will turn that back over to you as we let Lawrence go. Again, my friend, thank you so much for the conversation. Always good to visit with you, and I look forward to seeing you in person. In the
Thank
near
you
future.
so much. Thank you so much, Brother Dan. And I also want to say thanks to Brother Scott and Sis Linda and everyone else that was on. So sorry I couldn't stay beyond now. But continue to remember me in your prayers. And when you are here, I'm gonna be up and running, and I'm making use of this key like you instructed. Blessings.
Take advantage while you can, my friend.
Okay.
Take care,
All
good
right.
sister.
Bye.
Okay, that will conclude our presentation portion. We will now move on to our question and answer